Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please notify the chairman. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023 extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31st, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Board of Health is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling 1-508-945-4410. The conference ID number is 886-124-237#, or they may join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Channel 8 and 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. I'll turn this over to our chairman, Dr. Noble Hanson.
Thank you. It shall be the policy of this board to conduct its meetings under the open meetings laws so as to encourage public participation whenever time permits and as part of agenda item discussions. Okay, so we have four things on the agenda tonight, but first let's establish a quorum, and when I call your name, please say present. Carol Boyce.
Present.
Ron Broman.
Here.
Dick Edwards.
Present.
Ron Weiser.
Present.
And Joanna Kale.
Present.
And Noble Hanson present. Okay, we have a quorum, and Ron will be the fifth member today voting. That's the way we'll do that. Okay, so first on the agenda is a preliminary subdivision for Richard and Susan Connolly, 48 Salt Marsh Way, East Southeast LLC, and Thad Eldridge is here to present the preliminary subdivision.
Good afternoon. For the record, Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. So the Connollys purchased the property last year, and they would like a new house. They'd also like to keep the old house that's on it. It's a 100-plus-year-old home that they like. They'd rather not get inside of the house to modify it, and to put in a new house, they don't want to have to go with the guest house rules. So we're proposing a two-lot subdivision so that they can build the new house that doesn't have to be twice the size of the existing home. And the existing home would have to go to 2 bedrooms if they were to do the guest house. So we have the proposal to create a panhandle lot, use the existing driveway as a common driveway, separate the historic home on its own lot, and then build a new home somewhere. This is a request that we have to make to the planning board for the shared driveway and so on. So at the preliminary phase, we're really looking at the stormwater, what we can do to better the situation in order to encourage the planning board to accept this. From the Board of Health's perspective, we do have 2 lots. One of them we could marginally fit a septic system on, meeting all of the requirements. In all likelihood, we would put an easement on the other lot for the leaching, either reusing the leaching that exists now or putting everything outside the 100 in the rear of that lot. We may change the lot line so that the septic system could be on the subject property. We know from the soil tests of the septic system that the soils are decent out here. And we're here just as a preliminary review of the subdivision to show that we can adequately treat the stormwater, we can adequately treat the effluent, the sewage. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I'd have Judy just review for us what our role is here in approving a preliminary subdivision. What are we looking at here?
It's, at this point, it's just part of the process. If you see anything glaring that you're concerned about, we could bring it up to the planning board. It is preliminary, but overall, we really can just make recommendations. We don't really approve or disapprove of a plan. We make recommendations, and we're basically looking at the suitability for subsurface sewage disposal.
Right, so whether it looks like it's reasonably able to put a septic system in each lot
Right.
with what's.
And whether it will
Yeah.
meet our regulations as
Right.
well.
And then, what's our role with stormwater drainage and collection systems?
It's more of a planning board issue.
Yeah.
Right, and
I don't-
the driveway issue is planning board.
Yes, and then both of those get covered by conservation, because we do have a river bordering vegetated wetland. There's a floodplain to the north. It's an environmentally sensitive site, even though there are several acres of property.
Okay, good. And questions or comments from the board? All right. So, yeah, Judy has reviewed it and sees no public health restrictions on the property and recommends it for approval. And so it fulfills, I think, what we're looking at in a preliminary way, preliminary subdivision. So are there any input from the public on this? And anyone else from the Board of Health question? Okay, then we can probably take a motion.
So I'd move that we recommend this for approval.
And I'll second.
Okay, and then I think we can take a voice vote on this. All in favor to approve the preliminary subdivision for 48 Salt Marsh Way, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, so that preliminary subdivision is approved.
Thank you much. And I can say, for the definitive, we will have more refined plans.
Right, correct,
Better
yeah.
define out the septic locations or potential septic locations, but
Okay, thank
we'll
you.
get there. Happy New Year.
Okay, second on the agenda is a continuance of the variance hearing for Patrick Brogan, 346 Morris Island Road, Speakman Construction.
They actually requested a continuance on this?
Right, so we have a letter from Speakman Construction requesting for continuance of the January 6th Board of Health meeting review of that 346 Morris Island Road. So one question, can we continue this without a specific date, just have them return when they're ready?
They want to be on the January 27th meeting, so they should be ready for that. They've requested.
Okay.
That's our next meeting.
So it's a request for continuance to the January 27th meeting. And any comment or question? Otherwise, we can take a motion on that.
I'll move that we approve a continuance until the January 27th meeting of the Board of Health.
Okay, so that's a motion for a continuance to January 27th for 346 Morris Island Road, Speakman Construction. And if there's no other comment, we can take probably a voice vote. And all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, say no. Okay, so that is, continuance is granted, and that'll be on the January 27th meeting. And hopefully they'll be ready. Okay. Third on our agenda is a continuance of variance hearing and approval of IA Technology for 3 Oyster Drive LLC, 3 Oyster Drive, Shore Things Environmental. And we did have a request from David Bennett. Is David?
Yes, sir.
David Bennett's here. Okay, great. So if you can present the request. And it was before our meeting for continuance a few weeks ago for a different setup. And I understand it's
Yeah,
changed. You'll go through all that.
Yeah, well,
This is
Mr.
great.
Chairman, thank you, and ladies and gentlemen of the board, Happy New Year. This project was delayed over the holidays for us to consult with the DEP on a question that Judith had identified in the review of the plan. And so we met with the section chief for the IA systems in the Southeast region on a referral through the director of, for the IA program out of Boston. This is, to give a little bit of background, in August of last year, there was a septic inspection done for real estate transfer. At that time, the septic inspection showed that it needed further review by the Board of Health because it did not show adequate separation to groundwater at that time from an unadjusted basis. After review, we went out and did some test pits. We found out what the elevation of the groundwater was and then applied the adjustment, and that's shown in the plan. The plan revision was, we had originally wanted to use IA technology in order to decrease the separation to groundwater based on the unique and unusual circumstances of the area, which I'm sure that you've come across this on several other projects. We have an encroaching shoreline and an increase in the elevation of groundwater. So at the time that the plan was done, under that code, it was a 4-foot separation to groundwater that was required. And because of the acts of God or the reality of the changing shoreline, by the time we went there, then it didn't meet the 4-foot setback. So the question was, what remedial technology was out there that would allow us to prevent from building a wall and putting a system inside the wall to serve the existing 3-bedroom dwelling? So we wanted to go with IA technology that was approved that would allow us to minimize the separation to groundwater and still protect the interest of public health and the environment. So we had originally specified a technology called Sledgehammer, which in their remedial, and I believe this was part of the original package, in their remedial use application, they showed that there was allowance for the separation to groundwater, but there was also a caveat that you could not disturb or replace or do anything to the existing leach field. So since that was a restriction, we went back to the DEP. We found an appropriate system that is rated for decreased separation to groundwater. It provides both BOD and TSS treatment at about the level of 90% of removal of those pollutants, and it also provides nitrogen removal. So that's the plan that you have in front of you today, which the variances, there's multiple variances required because of the size and configuration of the lot. If you were down there or if you're familiar with the area, you know that these are very small lots and that the house basically occupies a huge proportion of the lot. So we tried to stay within the boundaries of both the environmental parameters and the aesthetic parameters so that we are replacing the septic tank with a 2-compartment tank, which is required by this technology, and we are raising and replacing the leach field inside a retaining wall that currently exists that we're going to actually add and build up another 16 to 18 inches in order to mound it up high enough to get the separation that we need to groundwater.
Okay, thank you. Comments from, or questions from the board? Dick?
So this lot is in the little beach area down below the lighthouse.
Yes.
Has this lot been inundated when there are east winds and high tides in nor'easters? Has it been underwater?
No, but the water has run in the roadway, and you know that the outermost marine now has a barrier around it. So, Yes, as a result, this is a very problematic area right now to all the homeowners and property owners because of the change in the shoreline allows the water to come in faster, so it allows the tide in a surge to come in quicker, and that's why you have the inundation. This property does not flood. I never observed any water, and I was actually at the property doing field work the day the water was running along the streets, and outermost marine got flooded.
And you're gonna be building a wall and raising a portion of the lot above the level that it's at this time?
You were going to be adding on to an existing wall that already exists that was around the existing soil absorption system to raise it up higher to meet the new performance standards with the adjustment.
Right, so the wall allows you to elevate the height of the leaching system.
Right, and we're asking for the variance to the separation to groundwater because a wall that would meet the requirements for the full separation would then be higher than the windows that are in the bedroom, which then creates a safety problem.
Right.
So,
Other
yes.
questions or comments from the board?
I was just going to say, so this is a flood zone, and like you said, in order to meet the breakout requirements for the top of the system, they need to raise the wall up about a foot or a little more, and then instead of having grading, which we would do with a normal septic system, the wall is there to contain it. So it will be 3 feet off maximum high groundwater that we, as Dave said, he was out there basically during a nor'easter monitoring wells that I asked him to put in so we could find out what the full moon, high tide looked like out there. So,
Yeah, Ron?
Judy, have we done something like this before?
yes,
We did do one.
yeah. You're going to see another one in another week, and then at the next meeting, very similar.
That is the groundwater separation.
Get groundwater separation issues out there. It's changed over the years.
So we have granted a 3-foot separation instead of the 5-foot that's required.
Yeah, with
the
this,
present
with the FAST system, which you're familiar with, it's approved for remedial use, so they can't rebuild the house, add any flow. It's set at 3 feet. The system is very good at removing, BOD and nutrients, et cetera, so,
We've done it before.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked the usual question, is there any other way you could create more ground separation? You mentioned elevating it above the height of the windows. but
We've
different part of
looked
the
at
lot
that,
is-
yeah, we've looked at that, and again, there's a safety issue because you've got a bedroom window that's only about 2 feet above the ground now. So once we build this, if we were to build a wall that was all the way around it, if we were to build it up higher, you'd either have to slope the dirt up against the house, which is prohibitive. You can't put dirt against shingles, or you'd build a wall on that side, and then it would restrict the secondary access and create a safety hazard. Thirdly, it creates a zoning issue because now you have a structure that exists on a property line that's greater than 3 feet, which is considered a structure, and you have to meet the zoning setbacks. So I think that when I said the health and safety issues and the environment and the aesthetics of it, I'm trying to keep it in line so that it doesn't look like, a concrete wall that's on the property line that's 6 or 8 feet tall. We've tried to, add technology and treatment to offset the issues of concern for impact to groundwater. So, and provided treatment, secondary and tertiary treatment with nutrient removal.
Questions or comments? Ron?
Is this going to be a year-round or just a seasonal?
It's in the middle of a real estate transfer. I don't know. I know the house is heated, so it could be year-round. Like in most of those places, if you were to drive down there today, I think you'd probably find not a whole lot of people living there. primarily used by boaters that, that are in that area. So I have to assume that it's going to be primarily seasonal, but I don't have any direct knowledge of that.
Yeah, so this system is an improvement over what exists now. And
Absolutely.
it failed because of the real estate transfer.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And Judy has recommended that it be approved. I thought it was a typo at first when I saw this 3,291 square foot lot, but that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Okay.
75 by 45.
Any input from the public on 3 Oyster Lane?
All the abutters were notified as well.
Okay, all right. Then we can probably, did somebody want to put forward a motion?
I move that we approve this application with the stipulations in Judy's memo.
I'll second it.
In a second, okay, and
May
Judy
we-
can read the conditions.
So
into
it's
the
our
record.
standard conditions for fast systems and remedial use systems. The applicant should restrict the property to a maximum of 3 bedrooms and record the restriction and variances granted by the Board of Health on the deed at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. The applicant shall sign a covenant with the board agreeing to comply at such time as the town of Chatham, through its Board of Health or Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners, directs the connection of this property to connect to the municipal sewer when it becomes available. The covenant and deed restriction will be recorded on the deed at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. The system is approved in accordance with Mass DEP standard conditions for secondary treatment units certified for remedial use, revised November 30th, 2016. Throughout its life, the system shall be under an operation and maintenance agreement. O&M agreements shall be under contract for a minimum of 1 year and may be with any Mass certified operator of the appropriate grade that has received training from the company on the operation of the system. Effluent from the system shall be monitored twice annually, preferably May and October. The effluent shall be field tested in accordance with Mass DEP standard conditions for secondary treatment as referenced earlier. In addition, a lab test of the effluent for total nitrogen to meet the performance standard of 19 or below shall be collected and analyzed by a certified lab. Water meter readings are to be provided with the semi-annual report. If any of the field tests or lab tests fail, follow-up tests shall be conducted by a certified lab and an evaluation made by the operator within 30 days. After the required 2 years testing, application can be made to the board or its agent for review and possible modification of the monitoring requirements. The applicant agrees to a minimum of 6 inches of compacted topsoil to all disturbed areas of the property. The engineer shall submit an engineered as-built plan, including as-built elevations with a written certification that the system has been installed in accordance with the approved plan. No alteration of the floor plan of the dwelling or the engineer's site plan will be allowed without further review by the board or its agent. This variance is granted pursuant to State Environmental Code, Title V, and the Town of Chatham subsurface sewage regs, is valid for 1 year from the date of the Board of Health approval. A permit must be issued and work commenced during that 1-year period, or the variance shall expire.
Okay, thank you. We can go ahead and take a vote on granting the variance for 3 Oyster Drive. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Okay, that variance is granted.
Thank you very much.
All of those conditions will be listed in the letter that I sent out.
Okay, and we have conservation on Thursday. Will you give them a heads up?
Yes, so I
Okay.
meant to say that it's going the second time to conservation, correct? Or did it go out to conservation already once?
Well, we had a preliminary hearing, then we had a hearing which we continued, so this will be number 3, I think.
All right, great.
Thank you
Yes,
very
I will
much, and I'm
talk to
sorry,
them.
Mr. Saponaro was in the crowd, as was Mr. Litchfield, so I didn't acknowledge them before I started. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, of course, Tim DeLue.
Okay. All right, last on the agenda is a continuation of a public hearing to discuss the revisions to the fuel storage regulations. Do we have to do anything to start a public hearing?
This is continued, so we can just open it.
Okay. All right, and Judy has, the last meeting, it was Lucas, we discussed the language and all, it was a bit confusing. Judy has sent out a revision, and any comments or questions or on the latest?
So basically, all reference to a 100% containment area has been deleted. So
Right.
as long as you have a double wall
Right,
tank, you don't need a containment vessel.
right.
So that makes it,
Nobody does that anyways, but
so that makes this whole
if
thing
if they wanted to do an exterior fuel storage and use some type of containment area, they would have to come to the board for approval.
So my question, I have one question, and that is, what is the purpose of having a 4-inch thick concrete slab extending beyond the tank, if it's a double wall tank?
Well,
I mean, that won't contain it.
We're doing away with that.
Huh?
We're doing away with that requirement.
Well, we still have that in here, a 4-inch thick concrete. I read that somewhere in there.
I saw the same thing.
And I was just wondering, why do we need a 4-inch
Oh,
thick concrete?
Yeah, there's something, section 5.2,
Oh, yeah.
above ground storage system.
Yeah, all above-ground storage must have a clearance of 12 inches. The area beneath the system shall be a 4-inch thick continuous concrete slab extending 8 inches beyond the tank on all sides. What's the purpose of that? If the tank leaks, the oil's
I think that
gonna
just,
flow
yeah,
off.
I think that just is so that these tanks are put on slabs and not on gravel or dirt. I think it's just another protection. These are above ground.
I think it's
Exterior
not a
stuff.
quote unquote containment system. It's a
It's not a
separate
containment
regulation.
system, it's
Provide
just
a
just
sturdy base.
Right, it's just a slab that it's put on, so.
That's fine. But it's very much clearer than it was
Right.
before.
Yeah.
So, in this any other questions or comments? I am on this section 5.8, it's a long sentence here,
Yep,
asking for a variance. I assume that whole thing means if it transfers and you have a single-walled oil tank, to not have it changed to a double-walled tank, by the time of transfer, you have to ask for a variance from us.
right,
So they would come and ask for a variance, and then they still have to do it,
right,
but then we would grant a variance with a time limit on it.
Right.
As to when, and then both
So if
parties are responsible for it,
there
not
may
just the
be,
buyer. Seller and buyer are still responsible.
right. So oftentimes, you know, how someone will come because they don't want to replace the septic system right away because they're going to tear the house down or, you know, change things. So it would be something in that type of situation.
So we've never granted that type, not in my time, but that type of variance before, but presumably there'd be some coming if they can't,
For fuel storage tanks?
well, creating the double-line oil tank in a house transfer with an oil system. So,
Again,
anyway,
if they were planning on
Right.
tearing the house down or doing some substantial
They
changes.
don't have to, yeah.
They could get an extension.
Okay, and then with the extension, we put a time on it, like
Yes.
2 months or 6 months or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it's pretty straightforward, and I agree, the way it was written before was unclear. Even Lucas and I had to, you know, read it through a few times to clean the language up, so.
This is good.
Okay, questions or comments from the board? That's a long sentence there in 5.8, but I think the meaning comes out. Any input from the public? Any comments? Any comments from the public? All righty, can we get a motion to,
Can I just ask
Yes.
before we need to come up with a effective date? So we missed the January 1, so when can we?
We need to put it in the paper, just the revisions, so if it
And
goes in.
It's the print, the effective date is when it's printed, or
Usually,
Yeah.
the effective date is when it's printed, so
effective on publishing, which,
I would say have it in for next week, don't you think?
Put a date of February 1st?
Oh, you could do February 1st.
The date of the.
Why don't we do
the
February
effective date.
1st?
Yeah, February 1st.
that'll give people a chance, and
Yeah.
February 1st, 2025.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Does this need to go to the fire department as well, or?
No,
No, it's a Board of Health reg, but it was the fire inspector that promulgated us doing this, because he was concerned about the continuance of passing these tanks along.
Yeah, I think the other thing stated here says enforcement and permitting shall be conducted by the fire department. In the previous one, the Board of Health was mentioned a lot, but we're
Right.
not really, it's, the fire department's really
It's
doing
really
all
been
this.
them, yep.
Yeah, so that's good.
And of course, we work with them on a lot of these types of things, so. Okay, so,
Well, I'll move that we approve the fuel storage systems regulation as modified.
effective,
Effective date,
February 1st.
February 1st, 2025.
okay.
And I'll second.
Second. And then we asked for public input already, so,
seeing none. So
okay, why don't we go, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. All in favor, or as I call your name, state what you think. Carol Boyce,
Yes.
Ron Broman,
Yes.
Dick Edwards,
Yes.
Ron Weiser,
Yes.
and Noble Hanson, yes. Okay, so those new regulations are approved, taking effect February 1st.
So I will put a cleaned-up version together, and you can come in.
You need to come-
Actually, could sign it at the next meeting, right?
yeah, they could.
Yeah, I'll have a
You need to
version for you to
sign
sign.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Good. All right, so we have a section now we call Public Comments, Future Agenda Items Requests. In the past, sometimes I've had a thing, old business, new business, but the discussions sort of morphed into other more extensive things. So we're going to, if somebody wants to bring up an issue, just bring it up, and it'll be placed on agenda for a future meeting, and then we can.
Right,
discuss it.
under the open meeting law, we can't discuss anything that's not on the agenda. So you can request the items that we can put on the next meeting, and that's why we changed that.
All right, I would like to request an update on the airport,
Yes,
the leaded fuel. Could that be put on a future agenda item?
yep.
Okay. Any other?
The transfer station. and
Okay.
floor, it's still bad up there. And have they come up with an answer of the other towns dumping in there? The fellow that was here was going to look that up,
Right.
so if we can bring it back.
So right, we can put together something. Does Mr. Bailey have to come back or not? But we can work on that.
Yeah, I can get some answers.
Then,
On the airport, I'm not sure, do you want me to invite the airport, what's he called, director? Or
the chairman of the airport commission
Yep,
or the airport manager.
okay,
Either one, I guess, would be fine, just as an update, what's happened.
okay.
And the other one I would bring up is, I'm blanking on,
Mill Hill?
Hill Road follow-up. And we might time that when there's significant new information available.
Okay, yep.
Okay, anything else?
Well, do we want to discuss the short-term rental regulations and how things are
Yep,
working in that regard?
sure.
That'll be starting again, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be doing some new renewals, and, yeah, I'll have more information on that as well.
Okay. Good, I think that's great. We'll have a little,
I can put together like a running topics kind of thing, like, just for us not to put on the agenda, just so you can see, kind of a reminder of topics. The select board has something like that, future agenda items, they call it.
you
So,
mean potential future agenda items?
yeah, just kind of a list of projects. I mean, there's a.
That we've dealt with in the
long-
past that we.
Yeah, that you-
Sure, that'd be great, I think.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful for new members of the board to get a little bit of background information. I don't know what the issue is with the airport or the transfer station or whatever, so. if
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of background information.
Yeah, I can put together something that will kind of bring it up to speed for everybody.
And maybe minutes from the meetings when we did discuss it, that goes to the members so they can review it.
Great,
Floor of the building that the
makes sense.
interior is deteriorating.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's great.
These
Okay.
aren't gonna be on a
Any other,
down the road. You pick one.
Yeah.
any other agenda items request?
I don't see
Okay.
any from the public, so.
Yeah. All right, and then we have minutes from December 16th, our last meeting. Any additions, corrections? And if not, if I can get a motion to approve?
You do want to, I know I'm not a voting member, but it says Judy Giorgio said, I wasn't here at that meeting.
Oh, no.
I just noticed that.
Did
I
the
say
secretary
that?
make an error?
Secretary made an error.
Oh, no way.
Oh, no.
I was in Rome that night.
Ouch. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of December 16 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 16th.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and we can take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, and opposed? Okay, hearing none opposed, those minutes are approved. And then we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All right, and then voice vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.